everything you think is the right thing to do to be a good person. And when you wake up in the morning, it just hits you like, fuck, I got to go through this shit all over again. Welcome to the Black Mother Wound podcast, where we center the stories of Black women as we heal from the painful relationships with our mothers. Welcome back to the Black Mother Wound podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Arnice. Welcome back, y'all. Happy Tuesday, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this. I hope that you all had a peaceful holiday, a happy holiday, one where you prioritized yourself and you didn't let nobody play in your face. Okay. And now we are, the week of New Year's. Just keep doing the same thing. I ain't even going to overcomplicate it with any more than what we about to talk about today. Okay. But first, housekeeping. As we round out the last week of the year, please end strong, go to Spotify, leave your 5-star review, go to Apple, leave your 5-star review, leave a couple sentences there, tell everybody why you love it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share. Okay. And Resolve Evolved goes live the following week. So if you click the link in the bio or in the show notes, you'll have the link there to sign up for Resolve Evolve, which starts January 4th. I'm looking forward to having y'all 6 weeks of healing. New year, new you is awesome. It's fabulous. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at info@jenniferarnice.com and I can answer those questions. But yeah. Okay, so let's jump right in. We are continuing with our audience questions. And this week we are talking about grief, loneliness, and emotional stuckness. This is one of the most difficult parts of healing your mother wound because it's a very slippery slope. And it's one that we can get stuck in for a very long time. So let's start with the first question, which goes straight to the heart of the matter. How do I get unstuck from the sadness and loneliness caused by the relationship with my mother? This is a great question. I'm not going to tell you that time heals all wounds, because time alone doesn't do that. But time is a variable in your healing equation, right? If you are doing the right things all along the way, enough of the right things. Does it have to be all the right things all the time? But enough of the right things, enough of the time plus time helps. This is coming from somebody who's been in this for about 10 years, right? And no, it didn't take 10 years for me to feel unstuck from the loneliness. Okay. So this is what I will say first. If you feel stuck, right? If you feel sad, if you are trapped in the grief of not having the relationship with your mother that you've always wanted, or you thought that you had, and now that it's gone, the first thing you're going to have to do is feel those feelings. You are avoiding processing those emotions because your fear is, if you feel all of that sadness, if you feel all of that grief, that you'll never get out of it. Because that's what it was for me. And I don't just mean the grief around the relationship with my mother. I'm talking about the grief and sadness in general that has become a part of, a benchmark in my life in a lot of ways. And I just wanted to put it off. I didn't want to think about it. And, I think in our logical minds, we think if we ignore something, it goes away. If we distract ourselves from something, it goes away. But your emotions, they have a lot of patience. They got a whole lot of fucking patience. And they will sit there and they will wait for you like an obedient pet at the front door, just waiting for you to unlock it and open it so they can come in. They're not going anywhere. The sadness, the grief, the loneliness, the resentment, all of it, regardless of the emotion, It is not going anywhere until you let it in. So you're going to have to become, I don't even want to say the word good at managing your emotions. That would be a plus, but you've got to have some type of competency around allowing your emotions to come in and making a space for them. Because if you don't make a space for them, you already know they're going to take over. They're going to be clawing at scratching at the door at very inappropriate, inopportune times while you're at work, while you're trying to be happy, while you're driving, while you're studying, whatever. They come in, okay? They come in for your ass like gremlins. So how do you start to make a space to process those emotions? For one, I always talk about having a morning spiritual practice where you can wake up and before the day is started, you can check in with yourself. You can prepare your body, not for those unwanted emotions, but for everything that's coming that day. You can fuel yourself emotionally and spiritually with journaling, with meditation, with tapping, with deep breathing, with dancing, with eating right, with drinking your water. You know, I go back to the basics, right? With possibly making your bed, cleaning up the space around you, creating safety inside your body and inside the space that you live in. That is a great way to make room for things to come up and you to be there and be able to hold them, and also making your body more like visually what I'm seeing is a pillow, right? Imagine you are the pillow. You are a soft, fluffy pillow. You are down stuff, the best feathers. This is what it feels like. This is what you're creating with that spiritual practice, with your appreciations, with all the things I've been teaching you, right? You create this safe space to land so your emotions can come in instead of tackling you or landing on you like bricks. They have a soft place to come to. And then they can stay as long as they need to stay, and then they can go. Because that is the thing we have to really understand about our emotions. They don't stay. It's hard to believe, but they really don't stay. But they will require their time. They will require that you be there. And when you start to make space for them, it's not about you rushing them off. It's not about you trying to use logic and your intellect to get through them. It is about allowing your body to feel all the things. And now this is where we go from a spiritual practice to we go to body movement, right? Walking, running, working out, dancing, creating actual space. So as those emotions come through your body, they have a way to exit out of the body. Painting. This is why creativity is so important, because remember, in order to do this work, you have to create safety. Creativity also creates safety. Creativity also, it is a great pair with vulnerability, because you're going to have to be vulnerable even with your own self about how you feel and what's coming up. Okay. And it's not about fixing it. It is about then coming to the inner child work and having that conversation with her where you put your hand on your heart and you just let her cry. You let her rage out. You let her have whatever feeling it is that she is having. You don't try to force it to be over fast. That's the worst thing you can do when you feel bad and somebody be like, girl, you fine, get over it. Come on, let's go over here. That shit is hella dismissive, hella disrespectful to yourself, right? So you have to have patience. Again, imagine you have a 2-year-old. it's going to be what it's going to be. You're going to have to plan your time, your day, your activities, your resources around that 2-year-old so that they get what they need. And I don't want you to look at it like a lot of y'all do, is like, when is it going to be over? How long is it going to take? Like, just imagine if you were with someone and you needed them and they were secretly looking at their watch like, damn, she's still crying. Is this going to be over? And I know that many of us never grew up with someone there being there for us, caring for us, being unconditional with us, being patient with us. So we haven't learned to be that way with ourselves. And that is a part of the job. That is a part of the relationship building. That is a part of building the autonomy. Imagine the personal power that you have when you know when an emotion is creeping up and you know how to handle it. You know how to manage it. You know how to name it. You know how to show up for it. You know how to comfort it. You know how to usher it through. Do you know how powerful that is? It's fucked up that this is the way we learn this skill, but it is a very powerful skill that will take you through many, many situations in your life, because grief and loneliness, they don't just show up here. They show up in all different areas, right? So that's what I would say for question 1. Question number 2, how do I cope with the grief of estrangement from a family who uphold toxic environments? Take everything that I just said and apply it. Now, what I want you to also think about is, if you have family members who uphold toxic environments and you leaving them leaves you with a sense of grief, I want you to start to get some clarity around the enmeshment and the lack of boundaries that made that relationship possible, right? And the more that you tend to yourself, the better you are of yourself, the better care you take of yourself. Hence all the things I said before, everything I've been saying in the 80-something episodes before this one. The more you do those things, the less you will feel beholden, the less guilt you will feel, the less strain you will feel being with those people, right? Because you have to learn to understand where you are in that tribe, in that hierarchy. Who are you? And does that work for you? Because if you're someone who's healing your mother wound, you are more than likely also a cycle breaker in your family, right? And that's a heavy fucking weight. And that can bring a lot of grief and sadness. But I want you to add on to your care package where you begin to redefine who you are and building a life around that, so your identity is not created by the toxic family structure. You have a new identity. And with that new identity, based off of who you are, not the enmeshment of your family, you also create family of choice. You also create new community. Okay. I did not grow up in a close-knit family unit. So I have always had to find family of choice, even though it's only in the last 4 or 5 years that I become competent at it. But if you grew up in a space where y'all are close and y'all are always together and doing stuff together, and your family is also your friends, it is your community, it's hard to let that go because you think this is how it should be. Like, I should have my family. I should have my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my grandma, my aunties. Like, this is what I should have, as if you are owed that, and you are not owed that. And there's a very good chance that you know that you've been living in a fantasy. And if you were to continue living in that fantasy, your hope is that things would change, right? And that doesn't make things change. Hoping something don't make it change. All right. So you're going to have to create new community. And I know it's sad, but I want you to also be looking at the reality of the dynamics. Do you miss the reality of the dynamics you all had? Or do you miss the fantasy and the efforting and the performance you were doing and the breadcrumbing you may have received from all of that work? So I want you to also think about that and see how that changes your perspective. Okay. So question 3. Do you ever still struggle with thoughts of self-harm? The answer is no. Now, and I see the question is still struggle. That means you've been here a while and you've heard my story over the years. I don't struggle with self-harm. Trigger alert. If you are struggling with feelings of self-harm, I want you to stop listening and I want you to call someone. I want you to call a professional. I want you to get a 1-800 number. I'm going to put a number up on the screen so you can have someone to call, because listening to this podcast is not the end all be all. It is not all the medicine that you're going to need. Okay. So that's the first. If you ever feel that way, any time of day, even in the slightest way, I want you to call the number on the screen and I want you to practice the vulnerability that I've been teaching you with those people on the phone, because feeling like life would be better if you didn't exist is a trauma response. It's a shame response. It's not really the reality. Your life can get better. The way you feel about yourself, the way you see yourself, the experiences you have can all get better. Because if I would have unalived myself when I was 20 or 21, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to experience all the amazing things I've had to experience. Even the things that are less than amazing, just everyday life, just getting older, like just having my son, just so many things. And I think we put this pressure on ourselves, right? It's like life shouldn't be this hard. It's not this hard for everybody else. It looks like everybody else is doing well, and you feel like you're on the outside looking in. You cannot trust that. That is shame, because shame is telling you that you are broken. Shame is telling you that everybody else can have it, but you can't. And I need you to believe me when I say that that is a lie. I know it's hard. Okay. And I know how easy it is to get like caught up in the pain because it's so overwhelming. It's like a ocean. And it's like you're doing everything you can, everything you think is the right thing to do to be a good person. And when you wake up in the morning, it just hits you like, fuck, I got to go through this shit all over again. Do not go through that by yourself. Don't go through it by yourself. Do not take it lightly. Make it the priority of your life. Okay, that you get the help that you need, that you practice building the community around that, finding the people that are there for you, whether you have insurance or you don't have insurance, whether you see a therapist or you don't, whether you live at home, in a castle, or under a bridge. Please, Google is your friend. I'm going to put a number up here that you can call, and you also have other resources that are out there. Listen, when I was 2021, I had the yellow pages. Some of y'all don't even know what that is. I had the fucking yellow pages, and I just had to go through. I was going through line by line, calling people, because I knew if I didn't get somebody to help me, that it was going to be a mess. Okay. And I just couldn't live with the pain anymore. And you don't have to. And you're not supposed to do it alone. And you're not supposed to just do it with you and me. You have to promise me that it's not just you and I. You got to bring somebody else in that you can talk to, that you can deal with, that can be a part of your life, because I guarantee you there's some other things going on even outside of the relationship with your mother, because we never learn to deal. We never learn to process. We never learn what was normal. right? Like, what's a normal thing that you should go through? We be going through some shit that ain't a motherfucker never should go through. And especially not by themselves, but things that you wouldn't wish on your worst motherfucking enemy. We go through it. And because we've gone through so much with our mothers, even if on the surface it doesn't look like it, internally we know it, that has created this super high pain tolerance for us. And we are just barreling through, trying to make it to the next day without the quality of life that we deserve. Okay. So that's the main thing I want to say about self-harm. You must get the help. You must. And it does get better. The pain that you feel does not last. Right. So I'm going to tell, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I'm going to tell you like the inkling of my story where things started to change for me many years ago. Right. I guess this was about 30 years ago. I was ready to do harm to myself. Right. Detrimental harm. And I remember sitting at my kitchen table, I was in college, and bawling my eyes out. And I had this vision. God spoke to me, universe, you can say whatever you want to call it. And I guess I've always been a science-centered person, whether I knew it or not. Like, if shit makes sense, it makes sense. And this voice said, do you believe that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction? I had learned that somewhere, but it always stuck with me, right? That always let me know there was always balancing going on at some level. And I was like, yeah, I believe every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And then it was like, so would you agree that you're in hell right now? And I was like, absolutely. Yes, I'm in hell right now. I was in hell. And then the voice said, well, you're in hell on earth right now. And I was like, yes, I'm in hell on earth right now. This is not biblical hell. This is hell on earth. Real deal. Every day, 24 motherfucking 7. And then the voice said, well, if there is hell on earth, then doesn't it stand to reason? And I go from like wanting to cry at this story to like want to smile. Wouldn't it stand to reason that there is also heaven on earth? And because of the first premise that I agreed to, it made so much sense to me. Well, yeah, if I can experience hell on earth, then it's logical. Okay. It makes perfect sense that I can experience heaven on earth. And that notion set me like a crackhead looking for the next motherfucking bump. Because I was like, I know for a fact how bad it can get. And you're telling me it can get as good as it is bad? That shit is awesome. It's phenomenal. It's incredible. It is nirvana. It is bliss. And if the opposite exists, then that must exist. And that's what I want you to hold on to. And then I was given the visual of a wrecking ball. No, I'm not going to call it a wrecking ball, a pendulum. Because, a pendulum swings. And on one end, there was hell. And on the other end, in this space, was heaven. And the voice said to me, I just need you to hold on to that pendulum and swing, to create as much momentum as you can to swing from hell to heaven. And you just need to keep swinging. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to go back and forth, right? You know how a pendulum goes once it has momentum, it goes back and forth. But if you can get the weight just right, and that's through behavioral changes, new choices, healing, community, autonomy building, sharing, vulnerability, all of those things can weigh that pendulum, the scale of it, closer and closer to that heaven. Even if you don't get completely there, you will be so far away from where you started. And that has been leading me for 31 years. For 31 years, when it gets to be too much, I think about that. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to understand For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If there's hell on earth, there's heaven on earth. And that life is a pendulum, and it's up to you to hold on and keep swinging. Okay? I love you all so, so, so much. I'm so proud of everything that everybody has done this year. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for encouraging me, thanking me, showing up for yourselves. This community is so incredible. It's everything I could have dreamed of that I never believed that I deserved. Y'all are here. And for as much as I have done for y'all, y'all have done for me. And I love you. And there's so much stuff that's going to be popping off next year in 2026. And I'm excited that we're all here together. So enjoy the rest of your holiday. I love you so much. And I'll see you next week. And yeah, don't let nobody play in your face still, no matter what. Bye.